Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. It has been a while and I haven't uploaded any video so far, but I'm happy to be back today to talk to you about a very important topic. Today I'm going to talk about the assassination of Captain Kerbino Agok. But before that, we want to know briefly who is Kerbino Agok. Kerbino is simply a South Sudanese who found his way to the United States some years back during the War of Liberations, like the rest of South Sudanese who found their way to USA, Australia, United Kingdom, and Canada. He spent many years in the USA. He got educated there, and then he came back after the peace agreement to participate in a process we commonly refer to as nation building in South Sudan. So he got recruited into the national security and he became an officer there. And later on he worked in the presidency, and after some years he established businesses. He became a businessman and established businesses. He established a security company that is known as KASS, K-A-S-S. The first letter K stands for Kerbino, the second letter A is Agok, and the double S is Security Services. So he succeeded. He greatly succeeded in his business, and when he reached the peak or the summit of his business, he was accused to have been involved in an action that was a threat to national security, and therefore he was arrested by the national security and put in jail. So he was in jail together with another guy, another gentleman, Peter Agok. And as you know, Peter Agok is an outspoken political activist. So they were put in jail together. I think he was arrested before Peter because he spent 2 years in prison, the whole 2018 and 2019 in prison. And then they were taken to the court, and then he was sentenced to jail for 15 years. But in January this year, 2020, the President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, issued an amnesty, and Kerbino, together with Peter Agok, were released. After he was released, he tried to re-establish his business, but he found that nothing was left. His business was destroyed by the government, and all his money in the bank were confiscated by the government, and all his assets lost. So he ended up as a frustrated young man, frustrated by his own people, frustrated by his own government, frustrated by his own colleagues. So on Friday, the 6th of June, 2020, Kerbino announced the launching of a new rebel group. And everybody heard this on the Voice of America. 1 week after he announced, or after he declared his movement that is called 7th October movement, the government troops ambushed him and he was caught, and then he was shot from a close range, and he ended up to be a person who is no more. I read the manifesto and I understood what they stood for. He's a man who has seen injustice in South Sudan. He's a man who has seen South Sudan being turned into dictatorship, into a new dictatorship by those who claim to have liberated it from domination, from dictatorship, from domestic colonialism by the Arabs during the unified Sudan. So that's what he stood up for. For me, what he stood up for seems to be a genuine cause for the people of South Sudan, especially the young people. And on that day, the 6th of June, he called upon all the young people in South Sudan to join his movement. Of course, we may have different views on the political method that he chose, which is the armed struggle against government. This sounds to be violence against the government, armed struggles against the government in Juba. And so many people might have not supported his choice, his political choice, because many South Sudanese want to see South Sudan a country that is stable, a country that is enjoying peace, because we are supposedly in an era that is called era of peace after the IO and the government and the other political movements, or rather the other rebel groups, signed the agreement with the government, and then the government of national unity was formed in March this year. So many people differ with Kerbino Wal Agok. For me, I look at the issue differently. Regardless of what political method he had chosen, Kerbino deserved life like any one of us. I am greatly saddened by his assassination, his killing by the government. And I am here to condemn his killing by the government of South Sudan. Why do I condemn his killing? I condemn his killing for the following reason. First of all, Kerbino is a well-educated young man. If he was arrested by the government, his life would have been safe, and he would have been kept to play a very positive role in nation building in the near future. But sadly, he was ambushed and then he was killed together with his colleagues. This is tragic, this is very sad, this is heartbreaking, and I don't condone any acts of killing in any name, whatsoever justifications may be. That's why I condemn the killing of Kerbino Wal Agok Wal. Regardless of what he had done, he was an energetic young man, energetic mentally, physically. He was a man full of a lot of ideas. So his killing is a big lose for us, the young people in South Sudan. And for South Sudan at large, because who actually knows the role he would play if he was captured by the government and kept alive. But killing him, in my personal opinion, is not a solution. Killing him is intended to send a message to the young people across South Sudan that whoever would try to stand up for political change through armed struggle or through armed revolutions or through any other means, peaceful political means, would face the same fate that Kerbino faced. But let me tell you this, we should not be terrorized by this senseless act of the government in Juba. We, the people of South Sudan, are a people who struggle for more than 100 years. There is no power that can scare us. It is very sad that those who fought for the liberations of our country are the ones now killing the young generations. So number one, I condemn the killing of Kerbino Wal Agok. His killing is meaningless. It's a big loss for us, the young people, and for the country that we call South Sudan, the country that we all love. Number two, the killing of Kerbino shows that the government is not for peace. Because if the government is really for peace, they should have given directives to the soldiers that ambush him to capture him alive and bring him back to Juba with all his colleagues. So this is number two. Number three, the killing of Kerbino shall not deter the courage of young people across South Sudan from standing up for political change and pushing the agenda of political change forward in our country. So we are a force to be reckoned with as young people in South Sudan. And as such, nobody can threaten us, nobody can terrorize us. We are the engine of change in our country. Whether those in Juba like it or not, we remain the engines of change. And the agenda of political change and political reform in our country is to be championed by none other than us, the young people of South Sudan. So this is number three. Number four, the government in Juba should put into its mind that by the killing of Kerbino Wal, they have helped in creating more Kerbinos. That is not the aim of the struggle by the young people in South Sudan. Kerbino has died, and he died as a freedom fighter. He died as a martyr. He died as a young man who was championing the cause of young people in his country. And so we salute him as a hero. We salute him as a martyr. We salute him as a freedom fighter. We salute him as a political symbol. So by his killing, the government has provoked the emergence of many Kerbinos. This is number four. Number five, I call on the youth across the country to stand up for their political rights. I call on the youth to stand up for their political freedom. I call on the youth to stand up against dictatorship. I call on the youth to stand up for having a voice because we don't have a voice in our country. This era is our era. We have to change the current political situations, and we have to usher in a new political era, a new political dispensations of peace, dignity, and freedom for ourselves and for the generations to come. I call on the young people to stage demonstration across the Republic of South Sudan to protest the killing of Kerbino, Wall, Agok, and his colleagues, to send out a clear message to the government that we, as the young people of South Sudan, are not happy for the killing of our brother, Kerbino Wall. Kerbino Wall did not actually form a very big political movement. He did not train soldiers yet, so he wasn't a big threat to the country. Those who have been a big threat to our country are well known today, and they are now part of government. And when they had their own differences with the government, they left Juba under the watch of security organs, and nobody tracked them and nobody killed them the way Kerbino was killed. So, number 6, I have learned through social media that the authorities in Juba have given directives to the soldiers not to bury the body of Kerbino Wall Agok. Instead, his body should be left for birds to feed on and for the beasts of the bush to feed on. What a disgrace, what a shame on a nation that kills its young people, on the liberators that kills the young generations and give their bodies as food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the jungles. This is, of course, very inhuman, very unfortunate. Kerbino Wall, after his death, deserved a decent burial, because in our culture as the people of South Sudan, like the rest of the world, when a person is dead, regardless of what reason that led to his or to her death, that person must or should be given a decent burial. So Kerbino should be buried. What the authorities in Juba decided is completely wrong, and I condemn that in the strong terms possible. Kerbino should be buried. So this is the message for today, and I call on all my fellow young people across the Republic of South Sudan to come out and speak up for their rights, to come out and stand tall for political change in our country. Those young people who are celebrating the death of Kerbino should stop doing that, because death of somebody, regardless of what led to his death, is not something good to be celebrated. We have to show respect to the dead people. I call on those who are celebrating the death of Kerbino on Facebook, on social media, to stop these meaningless celebrations. Death is not something good to be celebrated. Death is not something worth celebrations. What happened to Kerbino will happen or might happen to you tomorrow. What happened to Kerbino did not happen to him alone. What happened to him represents our cause, and therefore I call upon all of you, my fellow young men and young women across the Republic of South Sudan, and those who are abroad in USA, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, and wherever you may be around the globe, to stand up and protest the killing of Kerbino Wal Agok. We have to stand up for political change. We should not keep quiet. Those of you who are silent, I call upon you to stand up and speak for Kerbino. Because you may not know, you may be the next. And if you did not speak for Kerbino today, who will speak for you tomorrow? I would like to end my message with the words of a Lutheran pastor during the Second World War. That Lutheran pastor is by the name of Martin Niemöller. He said the following word. He said, "First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew." Finally, he said, "Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." So let us speak up for our fellow young men who were killed in Eastern Lake State by the government. This government is not a government for peace. Martin Luther also said powerful word, and I quote, he said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." If we become silent upon the death of our brother Kerbino Wal, then in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I call upon all of you to unite. I know South Sudan is a country that is divided beyond descriptions, but I call upon all of you, my fellow young men and young women across South Sudan and abroad, to unite and stand firm as one body, speak with one voice, stand up for political change in our country, and change the current situation. Change is inevitable. Change is the only element in nature that is permanent. There is nothing that does not change except change itself. Together, let us stand to change the policies that have failed us for 15 years. Together, let us stand for a new tomorrow, for a new future, for the next generation. Together for the betterment of our country. Thank you very much. I am not inciting anyone, but I'm educating all of us to stand up for what is right for our country. This dictatorship must come to an end. A luta continua. The struggle continues. As you listen, I'm playing a song here by Emmanuel Kembe. This song is a song he sang for our martyrs. So he's saying that we have lost many friends, many heroes along the way. Yes, that was during our struggle. And today we have lost along the way of freedom, Kerbino Wal Agok and his fallen colleagues. So I dedicate this song to him as a hero and as a martyr. Thank you for listening. See you next time.